Online file sharing security tips. How to safely exchange data electronically. File sharing enables millions of people and organizations to transfer data over the internet. From peer-to-peer applications to emails to file hosting platforms, users have myriad ways to exchange information. Watch today's video to see critical risks associated with file sharing, including identity thefts, infection or attack, and how to avoid them. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. How you doing today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. And if you are doing as superb as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or what? That's wrong. Today we're talking about a very important topic: online file sharing safety. And before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's first understand what file sharing is. What are the file sharing basics? Now, file sharing means that you are sharing or offering access to digital information or resources, including multimedia. I'm talking audio, video, documents, graphics, computer programs, images, and ebooks. All right. So this is basically the private or public distribution of data or resources in a network with different levels of sharing privileges. Now, this is a definition from Techopedia. Now, there are different types of file sharing. You know, if you want to share a file, you want to share content, you can use different techniques for storing and distributing files. And this includes removable storage media, file transfer protocol (FTP) programs, P2P networks, peer-to-peer networks, and online storage websites or file hosting services. Now, what are removable storage media? Those are the removable hard disks, memory cards, optical disks, USB, memory sticks, right? So if you use this sort of RSM, this removable storage media, you can transfer files from your computer system to the removable media and physically hand it over to the user with whom you want to exchange the files, right? So the receiver, the recipient in this case, can then connect the device to their computer system and transfer the files. And again, the most known is the USB, the USB stick, right? Another protocol rather, is the FTP. So file transfer protocol programs. Now, this has been around for a while, 20, 30 years. So it's a classic, but even though it's old, it's still a powerful method for sharing files over the internet. Now, the way it works is that, the FTP protocol makes available all the files that need to be shared on an FTP server. All right. And remote computers that want to access those shared files, they have to run FTP client software and log into the server, right? So generally, nowadays, all web browsers and operating systems come with built-in FTP client software. So you can set up the FTP server for security access, and you can ask for a valid login and password from clients before allowing them to access it. So whether you're using Mozilla or using Gmail, you can actually you can have an add-on. You can have FTP client software as an add-on to those browsers. The third way of sharing files is the peer-to-peer networks, right? So a peer-to-peer network is a platform whereby you need P2P software, and users can directly access and download the files. Now, this has been one of the most popular methods for sharing videos, musics, and some large photos. Now, the peers in this file sharing method are computer users connected via the internet. So I'm not talking about peers as friends that locally. No, those are folks who are just distributed across the globe that connect to the P2P network via the internet. All right. Now, unlike FTP, most P2P systems do not use central servers, right? Rather, every computer in the network functions both as a server and a client, right? So basically, let's say I have an important movie, not an important movie, an important document on my computer, for instance, and I log onto that P2P. After logging into that P2P, you can actually you can access the file that is on my local computer and download it from my computer. All right. So instant messaging services such as Skype are also a type of P2P network that support the file sharing between two or more users, right? You also have software such as uTorrent and BitTorrent. Another way of sharing file is through file hosting services. They're also called online storage websites, right? Some of the most well-known solutions are Google Drive and Dropbox, right? So basically, those are web services made for storage or sharing of data on the internet for personal use or for providing access to other users. So basically, you can upload documents, videos, movies, photos with the help of a web browser or app, and you can allow other users to download copies of those files using the same program, right? For instance, for Google Drive, both users both the recipient and the sender must have a Gmail account, right? So they can just log on to their Gmail and access the Google Drive. So this is very easy. Now, it's very important to note also that website links work by allowing users to upload files to a website which stores them on its servers. All right, and this is what Dropbox also does, really. All right, I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Q. We're talking about online file sharing security tips. Now, is file sharing secure or not? Let's just talk about this. Now, file sharing, in essence, is not secure. Anytime you expose your data to another user, there is the element of uncertainty, right? So you have to understand how to mitigate that uncertainty, right? Because the actual source of an online file is very hard to confirm unless that file comes from you, because you can never be sure that the file you're receiving is not, malware, is not any kind of a hacking tool or any kind of hacking device, hacking bot that is meant to destroy or steal data from your computer, right? So especially when it comes to P2P, because on P2P, and this is where the risk is, you have copyrighted material that is not intended for legal distribution. So downloading such a file could expose you, the sender, and also the receiver to legal action. So here we're not talking about just safety in terms of hacking, in terms of vulnerability. We are also discussing legal exposure, right? Because hackers attack file sharing applications by doing what? Infecting files with malware and then getting users to install those infected files in their systems, right? So if you download such contents, you are actually you're triggering security risk, and you can have breaches in your computer unless you have strong security safeguards in place, such as virus protection programs, for instance, right? So P2P is really one of the, P2P file sharing applications is one of the most dangerous, one of the most vulnerable ones, unless you have the proper mitigation tools in place, right? Now, one thing that you also have to remember is that if you're using a website such as Google Drive or Dropbox, you are relying on the security protocols implemented by the sponsor, in this case Google or the Dropbox, the company that controls Dropbox. So the stronger their security protocols, the better. But if you go to those smaller players in the industry, chances are you might have some vulnerability, right? Because attackers can use those smaller web hosting platforms to inject things like spyware, malicious codes, viruses, Trojan horses, and worms. And they will do this by bundling the content you desire with these threats. So when you download the content, you're inviting into your computer and your life, by the way, various security risks, and without proper safeguards, they can result in any number of security breaches, right? So now let's talk about removable storage media. Now, let's make it very simple here. The USB card, the USB stick, right? Because removable storage media can be connected to one computer system or another, right? And may cache malware from an infected system. So what you want to do here is that you want to always be sure in which computer you put in your USB card, or to whom you're giving the USB stick to, right? Another thing that's very important is that some file sharing applications will request open port on your firewall. Now, firewalls are designed to encrypt communications going into and out of your computer so attackers can't see what you're sending or receiving. By breaking this barrier to allow content to download successfully, you're putting your computer at risk of attack, right? So overall, the bottom line here is that file sharing is not a secure exercise, but it is necessary. So you got to be very careful which websites you are downloading stuff from, which exposure you're creating. For instance, if they want you to open up some of your ports on your firewall, that's a big no-no. And the third thing is you want to also be clear about who you're sending your data to. And this could be electronic sharing, where you are just you are part of a P2P and you allow people to dig into your computer, or physically, where you're handing a USB stick to someone and asking that person to go and retrieve the data on their computer. All right. So there are risks, but you can mitigate them by taking care of those three things that I just talked about. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. I hope you're doing fantastic. We're still having a conversation here around online file sharing security tips. Now, how do you stay safe when sharing files online? Now, we live in an era where we have gazillions of cyber threats, identity thieves, malware programs, spyware, Trojan horses. So how do you stay safe? There are a few things you can do. Number one, use robust passwords. You want to keep your password as strong as possible, because if you, and again, trying to have alphanumerical passwords, have at least 8 characters. You want to use a combo of numbers, upper and lowercase letters and symbols, and don't use a dictionary word. Believe me, hackers have software programs that are sophisticated enough to figure it out if you use a dictionary word. All right. Also, make use of a two-factor authentication. This is known as 2FA, to add another layer of security to your account whenever you're given the option. All right. If a platform is not offering 2FA, choose one that does. Next thing you can do is keep your security software upgraded and updated, right? Because software providers occasionally release patches, and you want to make sure that you take advantage of those patches so that you can ensure full protection of your system, right? Because by getting all the patches, you're able to keep your anti-malware software up and running. All right. This is very important. If a P2P program asks you to disable your firewall, it may not be a legitimate P2P program. Another thing you want to do is use encrypted channels, right? It's very important to use encrypted channels. The most common and easiest way to implement a solution for P2P and file hosting services is HTTPS, right? This is a protocol encrypted by security algorithms such as RSA, Kerberos, and ECDH. So the encrypted data it's sent via the secure protocol to the receiver for decryption, right? So the transportation happens over security protocols such as secure socket layer and transport layer security, TLS. This is very important because for instance, files on removable media can be encrypted with a number of tools such as self-encrypting USB drives, which embed algorithms on the hard drive and eliminate the need for installing software, full disk encryption software, which encrypts storage media that are otherwise unprotected, such as CDs and DVDs, or file encryption software that encrypts particular files on the storage device. All right, this is very important. Another thing you want to do is never upload copyrighted material. I've said this before. You know, if you got yourself a digital copy of a latest movie and you want to share it for free with the rest of the world, don't do it. It's just not worth it. You might as well just pay the $10, go to the movies, enjoy the movie with your girlfriend or boyfriend. That's it. Don't get into that, because uploading copyrighted material can land you in some serious legal trouble. Right? Now, also check all details when installing a P2P program. So if you have to install a peer-to-peer program from a shared network, always clarify what folders on your system will be made public in order to avoid exposing your private data. Because like I said, peer-to-peer means you are entering other people's computer and they are also entering yours, right? So if you pick it into their computers, they are also picking into yours. So make sure that you are very clear about which folders you are exposing to the whole wide world to see, right? And remember that if you close a software window, your connection to the network is not ended, and your shared files could still be accessed by users, which in turn can increase your security risk, right? So if you're not using the P2P program, just close it. Don't close the window, close the program. Next, follow safe email practices. Very important. When sharing files online, you want to be aware of phishing scams, right? Because phishing scams through emails are very common, and they have actually resulted in the last few years, 5 to 10 years, in some serious data breaches, right? So if you don't know the person, if you don't know the sender of an email, never open an attachment. Even if you're sure of the source, always scan the file with your anti-malware program before opening it. Or you can just call the person or text the person, hey, did you send me this file? I just got this file, and before I wanted to open it, I just wanted to double check with you, right? So because it may happen that the source is reliable, but they themselves may not know that the file is infected, right? Also, set your anti-malware software to automatically scan all incoming and outgoing emails, all right? Another thing you want to be very careful is you want to be cautious with portable storage media, right? So USB sticks. So never connect any portable storage device to your computer if you're not sure of its origin, right? Because when connected, and if you don't have the right anti-malware software on your computer, you're just done. You're done. Right? When connected, always scan the device with your antivirus or anti-spyware before opening the folder. All right, folks. So this is pretty much it. And thank you so much for listening to today's show. Let's just recap today's conversation here. So I spoke about file sharing basics. So the types of file sharing, right? Removable storage media, file transfer protocols, peer-to-peer networks, online storage websites, aka file hosting services. I also talk about whether or not file sharing is secure, and I gave you a few tips on how to stay safe when sharing files, using robust passwords, keeping your security software updated, using encrypted channels, not downloading files when you're not sure about the sender, using secure services, not uploading copyrighted material, checking all details when installing a P2P program, following safe email practices, and being cautious with portable storage media. Thank you so much for listening to today's conversation. I will see you next time, and until then, stay marvelous.